Hello my friends and welcome. This is Brian, the Speaker for the Dead, coming to you today on the road with a new video about anime. I've been missing talking about anime. I've been talking about some other subjects. I haven't spent as much time on anime as I would like, and I'm missing it. Since I have a harder time doing live streams now, this may have to suffice for anime talk on my channel for at least for some time, or for the foreseeable future. But as a side note, before I begin, I want to congratulate and welcome back GoGo13, who turned YouTube over, spanked their butt, and told them how bad they were, and they reinstated his channel. So he is back. He has got his channel back. I spoke with him the other day on the phone. We had a good long conversation about anime, funny enough, and YouTube and other things. I love GoGo13. If you have not watched him, if you have not seen his channel, go check him out. He is fantastic. He just released a video today, I believe, and I just finished watching it not too long ago, about anime news. And he had some really cool stuff and some things that I was not aware of. I don't follow anime news very well. I just watch a lot of it. And so I'm grateful to him that he does that on his channel, because it lets me know about things that are coming up or things that have happened. And it's just a great aspect of his channel, and I appreciate that. So, having said that, let's get on to the main topic at hand. Today we are talking Monster Musume, or Musume is how it looks like it's spelled, on Hulu, which is where you can go watch this. And you can watch it in English or subtitles. Now, this anime, I will start off right at the bat, right off the bat, with a warning. And I will tell you, there will be spoilers in this video. But the warning is adults only. This is not for kids. This is for adults only. There's quite a lot of adult content in this. To me, it's not salacious or over the top, but in some aspects it can be. So be forewarned, if you go watch this, that's what you're going to see. For example, within the first less than 5 minutes of the show, almost probably within the first 3 minutes of the first episode, you'll see a fully exposed breast. So just be aware, that's coming. And that pretty much sets the tone for the rest of the show. But this is a very short anime. It's one season, about 12 episodes. And just to give you a brief synopsis here of what the show is it takes place in Japan, as most anime does, and it is based on the story of the fact that demi-humans exist, and that they've been hidden by the government for all these years, but now the truth's come out, and demi-humans are kind of mixing and mingling with human beings in society. Now, if you don't know what a demi-human is, it's basically part human, part something else. So, I mean, it's like centaurs. It's a good example of a demi-human. I was trying to think of the little goat guys that are partial goat, partial man, and I just lost the term. But it's that kind of thing. So a satyr, pardon. So it's a satyr or satyr. It is and it's really funny. What draws me to this anime and kept me watching, in spite of how salacious it kind of got right off the bat, was the humor, which is equally as intense, and it really is just a comedy anime that uses over-the-top, overt sexual situations to generate the humor, but not like a porno kind of way. Because if you know me, you know I do not like pornography. I despise pornography. I think it is awful, terrible. There's nothing good or laudable about pornography. Now, if you disagree with me on that and you think it's great, it's wonderful, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. You're wrong. But, you know, no, just kidding. But it is, so I don't view this the same way. Now, for those of you who may know, I served as a missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 2 years when I was 19 years old in England and Wales, or in the UK. Now, during this time in my life, I met a guy who changed my entire view on how I think about the human body. This was an older man. This took place in a little town called Newton Abbot, which is in Devon, in the UK. And this guy was about 70 years old. He was an artist. He'd been an artist his entire life. He had a sweet little wife, and they were moving house. He was on dialysis, and they were downsizing their house to move in somewhere smaller. As a brief side note, because of this man, I also love boxers. They had a boxer, and I loved that dog. It was so funny and so much fun. Anyway, but he was a great guy, and we were helping them move, and we went into the garage, and we were gathering up some of their stuff, and amongst all this stuff was a large amount of paintings that he had done over the years. I mean, every kind of painting you can think of, he had done some of that at some point. There was landscapes and fruit and skyscapes and just all kinds of different art. And I was picking up these different pieces of art and moving them to the truck, and I moved this one piece, and behind it is a nude. It is a full nude of a woman. I mean, it might as well have been the picture that came off of the movie Titanic. It was like that. I was like, no, hey. Now here I am as a 19-year-old kid, serving as a religious missionary, very naive, very, very naive to the ways of the world and stuff, and very, very prudish at that point in my life about things like that. And I was just like, whoa, what's going on here? And I turned to this guy, and I'm like, what is this? Why do you have this? Like, dude, what's the deal here? Like, this is not a good thing. And I was kind of overreacting, I guess. And he just, 70-year-old man, look at this 19-year-old kid, and he goes, elder, which is what they call us as missionaries. Don't use our first names as elder. And he says, elder, the most beautiful things that God ever made was man and woman. The human body is nothing to be embarrassed of. The human body is beautiful. It is amazing. It is what we choose to do with it that sets the tone for how it's viewed. If you want to do something evil with it, then yes, it's an evil thing. But that's what the devil does. The devil tries to convince you to be ashamed of your body by doing evil things with it. And it's not like, and not to say that we should just run around nude, just showing everybody our parts. That's not the same thing. Because modesty is a good thing. At least I think so. And but his point is that the human body is not a wicked thing. It's not an evil thing. To see the human body naked is not an evil or terrible thing, unless you make it a terrible thing. So beauty and a perception comes into play there. And because of this man, the way he talked about it, there was more that he said and we talked about, and it changed how I looked at that particular subject. And so I view drawings and seeing the human body differently now than I did then, because of him and the way he viewed the human body. And so now I do look at it as an artistic thing, as a piece of art, as the most beautiful thing that God ever created. You can't tell me you could look at the perfect female form, Venus, the statue of Venus, and other art forms, and say that isn't the most beautiful thing in the world. It is. Most amazing thing. The way it's drawn, with being able to see the different muscle groups and the skin fluctuations and how it covers and moves with the muscles. It is an amazing thing when you really think about it. And I'm a little off topic here for Monster Musume, but I want you to understand that that's how I view this. This is, some people could look at this anime and go, this is pornography. And there is a little bit of an aspect to that. But I don't view it that way. I view this as, look at how amazing he drew, or she, or whoever it was that was drawing this, and how anatomically correct it is, and how beautiful it is in its form, and how things flow into each other. And it's just, it really is a different way of looking at things, as opposed to pornography, which there's only one way to look at pornography. In my opinion, it is not art. It is disgusting. It is a usership of one human being of another human, or usership of both human beings, or whatever. But and like I said, we can disagree on that, but I don't see it as art. There's different. This I can see as art because of how beautifully it's drawn. Now the situations they put them in, and the little over-sexualization of it, gets a little tiring at points during this anime, but it provides for fantastic comic subject matter. That interaction between men and women, and how we deal with those situations. And I mean, in a lot of ways, it's kind of dealt with in a sweet and innocent way. Like the first time you ever saw some whatever sex you are, you saw the opposite sex nude, or you saw a picture of them nude, or whatever. The first time you saw that, and how that made you feel, and like your reactions to it. That you see a lot of that in this anime, and it's an interesting subject matter that gets covered, and the funny situations, because people take sex so seriously, and I did for so long, and until years later, until you've actually been involved in those situations and you realize just how funny it can be. Situations that I've had with my wife where we just both started laughing because it was just like, it's so serious, and yet all of a sudden you're laughing about something that just happened, and you're like, oh well, you know, I didn't know that was even a thing. And so it is, there is a lot of subject matter here that comes off as salacious, but if you look at it right, it's just normal. It's just humans interacting with humans, or demi-humans in this case. Now the setup for this is, like I said, they've got this interspecies exchange bill, and there's this kid, this 19, 20-year-old kid who's living on his own. His parents are overseas working, and this interspecies exchange coordinator named Mrs. Smith, which I thought was great, like a nod to the Matrix almost, it brings this demi-human, Lamia, to live with this kid. And they do a bunch of construction on his house to make it possible for her to live there, and stuff. But if you don't know what Lamia is a half snake, half person. Almost, you can kind of almost picture Medusa without the snake hair and turning people into stone thing. So its upper half is human and the bottom half is snake. And it's just, and that's who you see kind of naked right off the bat, is because this Lamia is just enamored with him, and so she is trying to basically seduce him throughout this entire show. But what happens is that new characters keep getting added. This Smith keeps dropping demi-human girls on this guy to take care of, because they're having a hard time in their other host families, or she's kind of bad at her job, and she's kind of just terrible and stuff, but she's really funny in a lot of ways, and but she keeps dumping these girls on his doorstep for him to take care of, like they're little lost kittens, and he has to deal with all these situations he keeps getting put in, and at some point it ends up being like 5 or 6 girls living with him in his house, and he's got to make it work. They're all trying to seduce him in their own way, and stuff like that. And the thing that I found awesome and really great is that at no point does he ever give in. With all of this, you know, trying to be seduced at every turn, he never gives in and succumbs and is just like, okay, and he just starts using these girls. Never happens. He remains a gentleman all the way through this, and it was cool to see a male character being portrayed as having willpower, as having the ability to overcome his appetites. Because he's a 19, 20-year-old kid, you know he's got hormones raging. Now, part of it is, as part of this exchange bill law, they can't, like, it's illegal to have sex with a demi-human because they're worried about inner conflicts between the species as this is becoming a new thing. Now, that changes slowly over the course of the anime, which leads to even more situations where he's got to try and avoid getting seduced by one of these girls and stuff. And it was really funny to see, because most of the time males are portrayed as the out-of-control, sex-crazed maniacs that women have to put up with. And it was really funny to see that flipped and to see what would happen if that's happening to a guy and the differences. You know, because most of the time you would see that and be like, oh, well, if a guy's doing that, it's sexual harassment. But if a girl's doing it, well, she's just a cute little sexy little place. It's very interesting as how it's portrayed differently. It's just like nobody feels bad for the kid that ends up sleeping with his teacher at school, because everybody's like, oh, I wish I was that kid. Every boy is like, oh, I wish I was that kid. Things like that, because sex is viewed differently, so differently by men and women. And it really draws attention to that. And the sad thing is because these sexual situations are so overt in this anime, you could almost miss some of the other messages that are being put out in this anime, which is, don't dwell on people's differences. The reason that these girls all kind of fall for him and love this guy, which he gets called Darling or Honey, or nobody ever seems to use his name through the whole anime, which is really funny. And he gets put in these situations and has to just deal with all of this stuff. And but nobody really thinks of it from that perspective of what that's like for a guy to have to deal with that. But they love him so much because he doesn't see the differences. He just sees them as girls. Cute girls, girls in need, and he deals with them that way. As where that gets drawn a lot on throughout the series, of where there's other people who are like weirded out by the fact that they are demi-humans and only half human, and you know, some of them make fun of them, some of them, you know, treat them like they're scared of them because of it. There's a lot of different reactions to the demi-humans, and his reaction really is the model for how we should view differences in people. Somebody who has a club foot, or you know, an arm that's malformed, or whatever, that we should just treat people like people, and that we shouldn't sit there and focus on the different. And I liked that was something I was just like, doesn't matter what your skin color is, doesn't matter what the differences are, what's the same? Our feelings are the same. The way the way we want to be treated is the same. And I liked that aspect of this. But I have to say, what really keeps me coming back to this anime is the humor. It is hysterically funny, the situations that he gets put in and has to get out of. He's constantly at death's doorstep because they're trying to seduce him and do all these crazy things, and he's trying to get away, and so he trips or falls or gets hit by something, and it's just really, really funny. So I love it for the comedic and the artistic part of it, and I just kind of dealt with the over-sexualization that kind of happens towards the girls and stuff like that in this, because that I didn't find that appealing. But I mean, we are sexual beings. And it deals with that. The fact that, you know, it's a little over the top, but the fact of the matter is, that's a fact of life. That is a reality for all of us. We are sexual beings. That's something we all have to deal with and try and figure out how to control and get a handle on as we go through this life. Like, you know, and some people are terrible at it. They become sex addicts or become nymphomaniacs, and they have to deal with it. And then you've got the people on the other side of the spectrum that's just like, I don't care, I'm not interested in sex. And I've known both men and women that fall into that category. I knew a guy and worked with a guy who could have cared less about sex. He was more interested in flying model airplanes and you know, racing cars and doing other stuff. He didn't really care. He just wasn't interested. Didn't care about it. He's married, and his wife was frustrated with him because he didn't want to do stuff. So I mean, it really is. There is a spectrum of behavior out there when it comes to the topic of sex that you can deal with, and kind of see it from all of its different sides, and how that is for each one of us to deal with. So this is very much, you can either love this anime or hate this anime, but it's all going to come down to perspective. You can either see it as this is pornography, this is anime pornography, this is hentai, this is horrible. It is not hentai, by the way. But, you know, you could say, oh, it's too overtly sexual, over the top. And it's just like, well, yes, there is some of that, but there's a lot more to it. And like I say, there's a lot of interesting things that happen in the show. It's very funny. There's different things that he has to deal with, and I just laugh my butt off every time I watch this, and just find it absolutely hilarious. So I would, you know, invite you, if you're an adult and you can handle adult issues and stuff, this is a funny anime, and I enjoyed it. This is not for everyone. And I want you to know that going in. There will be parts of this that you're going to be like, don't you're treating girls as objects. It's just like, well, no, are they? Or are they treating people like people? But it was just a fun series that I stumbled across a couple years ago, and have waited to talk about because it covers such iffy subject matter in some contexts. But if you can handle that, you're probably going to enjoy this anime and laugh and have a good time and see it for what it is. Just an entertaining thing that deals with some really risque content and aspects of human beings. So go check this out, or don't. But I hope you've enjoyed talking about this and this insight into another anime that I enjoy. Please get out there, watch anime, find that entertainment that really speaks to you, and support it. Support what you love, avoid what you hate, and find happiness in entertainment wherever you can. It's getting harder and harder to find that in the stuff that's being created now, but it's out there. That stuff is out there if you're going to go look for it. And you can either spend all your time being positive about something you love, or be angry about something you hate. I think there is room for both. Discuss what you hate, discuss the things that bother you and the things that shouldn't be going on, but don't dwell just all on that. Life is too good to get hung up on all of the bad stuff all of the time. So look for the good. Anyway, thank you for joining me, and